Hey, welcome back. My name is Marcus Davies. I'm a professional mixer. Today we're looking at a song of my own. This is a cool song. It started out as just like an instrumental beat, but I liked it and I kind of just started scatting, just trying to get a rhythm, some kind of melody. Once I had that, I kind of started putting lyrics to it, and then it went from there. This was a really tough mix. This really was a battle. I took it a lot of different ways. I couldn't quite figure out what to do with it, and this is the trick about self-producing. Nobody else did anything on this, so it's just hard to remain objective and just know where this needs to go. So this took a lot of different forms. You can see at the very top of this session here, mix version 31. I didn't do 31 mixes of it. This came pretty far. I remember I just kept adding certain elements. Once I started like the mixing process, I started adding elements. I started removing elements. I remember playing with different timing, so doing different tempo mapping. And this just, every time I did something new, I would create a new version. So that's why you see V31. Like this, that's just an insane number. But I just kept numbering it just so I always do a save as, so I can always go backwards, which I had to do in this one a couple of times. I had to go back and just, whatever I was doing, it wasn't good. So go back from my latest checkpoint and go from there. So I'll talk about the production of it, how I built it, and then how I ended up recording and editing, mixing, all that. So it's a short song. It's only 2.5 minutes. I'll play the first verse through the first chorus, and you'll get the gist. Don't think that we now. You walk over me, you want company, you won't come for free. Don't act like you don't know now. Give me your key, you pack up and leave. I won't count to 3. Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Honey, please don't. Yeah, got it? Cool. Let's start at how this thing kind of started, this was just a beat I'd made in Native Instruments machine, like the DAW. I made this years ago, and then I was just kind of going through some of my old stuff and just seeing if there was anything usable. This was one. So I'll solo up this beat, and we can see what that sounds like. Most of the stuff only plays in the chorus. Cool. You can see when I got to the mixing point, I added another kick and another snare. So let me kind of solo up these sounds, and we'll go one at a time here. So that one's pretty pillowy, low, round. And there's the complementary partner to it, so the attack. So essentially kick in and a kick out. On that kick out, which is lower, just scooping out that notorious 250 out of the kick. Didn't need a ton of low end information in here. This isn't a hip hop record. I don't need that massive low end credibility. So 24 dB per octave at 35 hertz, that's okay with me. If anything, that just helps my master bus, and just you don't have to work as hard. This kick sample. So these are muted. I have a little bit of a size thing. Let's just see what that does. There's that, and then this massive low. So even there's like my kick in and my kick out. So a little bit of sub, and then this is what the big enhancer here. This is what gives me that punch. So you can still hear it. And then to make sure you can hear it even more, a little bit of saturation. I always play around with these different modules on this decapitator here. Often I go to E, which is like the EMI Abbey Road kind of emulation. I forget what the T is, but I just liked the T a little bit better. When I do like harder rock stuff, I usually go for that E. It adds more. There's more attack, a little bit of grit on the top end. T, I don't know why I liked it, but I was sifting through and I just kept it there. And there's, yep, about 250, 230 again. And then putting a little bit more of a nose on it. 40 hertz on that one. AK, nothing up there is needed. And both of these go to my kick sum. Adding a little attack, taking away sustain. This is kind of what helped it bounce a little bit. So let me play all of these drums together, and I'll pop this guy in and out, and you'll hear it kind of just bounce differently. Yeah, for me, that just like makes the snare more pronounced somehow, even though we're affecting the kick. By taking away that sustain, it just shortens it up and everything just gets tighter. And that's a tighter bounce that just makes you want to dance like this, as opposed to just being a little too messy. So this is a great cleanup tool. There it is again, a little more harmonics. And then once more, 250 and almost 2K. Taking it out at 30, so good kick sound. This is also going to parallel drums, which we are using. I'll talk about that in a minute. It's also going to a Sans amp, parallel distortion that I use for kick and snare most of the time. Maybe toms, maybe something else if I want to get crazy. And this is also going to transformer, which is not in use, so we can actually get rid of that. Moving on down the line. Clap. It's probably exactly what you think it is. Yep, it's a clap. Taking out some of that Woofy 500. And this is going to the perk verb, so we'll talk about that in a second. And then percussion. These are names from my machine session. So that's a cool one, just a side stick kind of thing. And then in my template, I always have this snare sample, kick sample ready to go. What am I actually doing? A snap. Cool. So those three together. Layering. How cool is that? It makes a world of difference. Also on that snap sample, putting a little low into it, and it was too bright. Okay, let's see with and without this guy. Yeah, some of this, I remember doing these percussive elements in this track and thinking that things were just getting too crispy, too crunchy, and it didn't feel right. It was too aggressive. So I ended up just kind of mellowing things out and letting it be a little bit more of not quite lo-fi, but just a smoother, warmer, thicker kind of flow to it. Initially, I was just too hyped in the top end little too crispy, too much distortion, too bright, and it just, for the longest time, that was just driving me nuts, and I ended up just being like, well, what if I go dark with it? And then that really brought things together, because then that let the vocals sit up top a little bit better, and some of those more percussive elements like shakers and things. But that was really the key, was kind of taking out some of the top end in these drums and just letting other things live up there. And that's what kind of gives it that play and that bounce. All of these snares are going to my parallel drums as well, and also to the Sans amp. So that's it for the Sans amp. So let's look at that. The Sans amp is a parallel aux down here, and it's exactly that, Sans amp. Let's see, let me solo up just these guys, and I will mute all of the other drums and just listen to that Sans amp. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Just rhythm, bounce, movement. It's crunchy. So this was kind of my way around taking all that top end out of the drums themselves, then sending it to a parallel and adding some of those harmonics back in where I have more control over it. And I liked this sound of these harmonics better than just boosting top end. I really don't care to boost top end in a lot of things. I'd much rather do saturation and distortion. And that's a pro tip for you. Moving on through these drums. V sample. This is not a drum, but I just never took it out. It just came with like the kit from my machine session, and I just never bothered to change it. So real quick, we are, okay, yeah, I remember now. All that attack is gone. Radiator, love it. And then True Verb, Old Faithful. So let me do this before and after these plugins. Pretty cool, huh? It was sitting too far forward. Let me do this. Let me take it one step further. Play with all this percussive stuff, and then I'll toggle that on and off. This is not a focal point of this sound for this drum kit. This is an element. It's fun. It adds bounce. It's a different texture, but I didn't want it to be front and center. So attack all the way out. It was such a sharp transient on this, and that really drove me crazy. So taking out all of that attack on the front end, making it even girthier. Radiator to me is like a really warm distortion. Some things are a little bit crispier in the top end. When I need to add like warmth, girth, and thickness, Radiator is great for that. So that's what I reach for a lot. True Verb, this is a, you can see I'm automating the bypass on it. Is that right? The distance and the bypass. Okay, so let's look into this a little further. So, okay, in this outro where the vocals leave, I bypass it completely and let it come back up. So let me look at the distance. Similar kind of thing. I bring it closer to you on the outro. So if you look at this slider right here, this is set up using early reflections in a way that it's a front to back panner. This is a great trick. It's from Jason Joshua. I wish I thought of it, but I stole this from him. This is a front to back panner. So let me toggle this on and off without doing anything else. You'll hear it set back into the mix, into the background, versus being up front. So actually we'll go here where I automate it. right? Very different. So this is a great trick, and I touch the volume as well? I did. Oh, just to fade it out at the end because it has a tail. So this was a slick trick. This is, again, it's just a texture. It needed to be felt and not heard in that way. So that's what this is. You can steal these settings. I stole it from Jason. Steal it from me. They work great. So I have a lot of fun with this. If I need something to sit back a little bit, like hi-hats are often will get this, especially the icy ones and some of that hip-hop stuff. If you go to like 2018, that's usually a sweet spot where it's just enough to set it back. This one, I just needed to kind of 31. This one was just too pokey. So that, in conjunction with this transient designer, that was the sauce right there. Moving on, we got this shaker. This, you can see, was playing all throughout my session, but I changed it just to be in the choruses because this is a weird rhythm. I can't remember if I found a loop or if I performed this, but it's a bit strange. Right, so it's just a little offbeat, but this is tucked in the background. It's one of those things, I'll take it in and out, and you'll kind of just notice just the absence of a texture. Right, it's like an added little subdivision. It works with the hi-hat. Probably don't need it. Could have been fine without it, but it just added a little something. This whole thing is just about bounce. Like these drums, you just need to be doing this. This is all I wanted to do. Sometimes it was just too aggressive. I just need a little, just make me dance a little bit. Once I'm dancing, I'm happy. Hi-hats, same thing, just too aggressive up here. Let me bypass this. That's enough. That did the trick. Again, we're not using that transformer. That's it for my main drums. I have a couple aux percussion things down here. We'll talk about that in a second. So all of these drums are going to my main drum aux. Barely tickling it. This is more harmonics than anything. And I've talked about this a bunch, but I love this plugin. This is such a great tool. And this, if you know, you know, 50 hertz, 100 hertz, 150 hertz. It's just a little bit of like a little resonant boost. It's not a resonant filter, but it's just a little peak that it brings out. So this, I did not need it to be super subby. And up at 150 just clashed with the other instrumentation. So right at about 100, that was a sweet spot. That's what gave me the most bounce. And again, that's the only thing that matters with this is getting it bounce. Parallel drums, which is only kick and snare going to it. I say snare, but clap, side stick, and snaps. This is cool. Let's see what it's doing on its own. Right, we'll put that back down at minus 15. Let's see what it adds to this kit. Again, it's that kick and snare, just that little bit of pumping. Like that was the key for this whole thing. Once it was pumping, I was happy. Drum dirt. This is a copy of the drums, so everything goes to my main drum bus, and then again everything is going to drum dirt. This is another parallel distortion, but this one's pretty specific. A little bit of filter, take off the super top, super bottom. Oh, actually quite a bit of the mid-range, all the way down to 3. It's a little too crunchy. This is the dirt. Mix is pretty high up, a little bit of darkness, crunch, crush, fast. Check this out on its own. Pretty big, right? Again, another thing that adds bounce to it. So I'll pop it in and out. Distortion is just extreme compression. So with this unit, you can really tell, like, it just has such a noticeable compression element to it, as opposed to like throwing on Decapitator, made by the same company. It's just different. This thing, this crush is really like the distortion, or the it's really the compression amount. Like, this thing just really crunches it in a beautiful way. But tucked down at -30, that's kind of where it just sits nicely. So anything more than that, it's a stylistic choice. Sans amp, we talked about it already. You can steal those settings if you want. These change every song. Sometimes you need it to be punchier, thicker, change the EQ, aggression, whatever. But that's a fun thing that works most of the time. If I am looking for more of that parallel distortion and Sans amp isn't doing it, I'll go for a 1073 and drive the input of it. That'll give me something similar, just a little different flavor. So all these drum auxes go to my main drum sum. IDX, love this thing. Talk about adding more bounce. Let's see what it's doing. Subtle. I don't want to go over the top with this. It's really easy to go over the top with this. -8, and this is at 86 of the mix. I'm fine with that. Oh, this is interesting. That's, I don't know how I got here. Taking out even more of that 250, boosting some mid-range, taking out some of the higher mids, and rolling off at 35. So this will tighten it up. Let's see with and without. Cool. So this is separation between the kick and those upper elements, which is the snare and the hats and all that. So really, I think it's mostly about this guy right here. This just tightens it and makes things bounce a little better together. I know I keep saying that, but that was the only thing that mattered with this, was just a little bounce. I don't need any headbanging, crazy dancing. I just need a little bounce. That's it for drums. You can see I used this Atlas kit in Native Instruments, their library. I wish I could tell you more about it, but this was years ago, and I finally just decided to do something with it. So working together with the drums, auxiliary percussion. We'll go one by one. Just a little bit of saturation on this heat wave from Slate. I think it's free. Go grab it. It does a thing. So like where I reached for Radiator before, because I wanted more warmth and low mid saturation, this to me is a little more sizzle on the top end. So different element, just putting it in a different area. It's different harmonically. I don't want everything to be too same. Shaker. This was the main shaker element of this, and I can see it's a loop that I brought in, which was originally 79 BPM. Brought it up to 86. Huge. That is huge. Again, we're not doing transformer. Radiator. So sizzle, more high end saturation on there. a little more low end saturation on the shaker, and they work well together. And then again, Old Faithful. You can see I'm already down -9 on this fader, but I just needed it to push back. It was just too in your face. It's kick snare and then a little bit of shaky subdivision elements. It was too in my face before. So you can see that's where I was playing with like this transformer, which is just added transients, and it just makes things brighter and a little bit more aggressive and jumping out of the speaker. So I tried that, and then I decided against it and just tried to go a little more mellow. So that's where I swapped the transformer parallel aux for this true verb to just kind of set things back. So that was the big difference in this mix all throughout. I was just too aggressive early on, and I just needed to take a step back, dial things back, and just slowly bring things back up just to where it felt right. And lastly, we have a tambo, which I performed this. I remember this. So this is not quantized perfectly, which I think is a cool element. It just adds a little bit of a human thing. So I've never been a fan of super bright tambourines, which seems counterintuitive, but that's why you see this rolled back on the dark and Neve, which is like the darkest of these modules down here. It just feels too weird without. Yeah, so taking away the top end, but then kind of simulating it and adding it in with the harmonics. Like I was saying earlier, I'd rather do this than just boost top end on an EQ. That works for some things, but I don't know, the percussive stuff, and like vocals especially, like just do it with harmonics and saturation. This was some control. Just trying to even out each of those little hits between the big accent and then just the regular subdivisions. And there she is again, Old Faithful. These all go to my Aux Percussion sum, which is just taking out a little bit of low end and mid range, and again a little bit of top end. So let me do this. Let me play this. I'm going to take this auxiliary percussion in and out with those drums, and I will take their this bus EQ off. It just fits a little bit better, right? It's a little bit tighter, a little bit cleaner. Again, less aggressive. I found myself taking off a lot more top end and just kind of darkening things, warming them up. Last thing that kind of coincides with, you know what? Let's come back to this because this is one moment. I'm going to come back to that. So moving on to bass. This was a trick. I went through a lot of different bass sounds. This was MIDI bass. I programmed it. This, I went back and forth and back and forth. This is part of the reason why we're at mix V31. Maybe the first 15, I was just sifting through different bass samples, trying to just redesign it, and long story short, here's where I ended up. Fun. These are two different samples. So this is a trick I always do, is by separating the low bass and the high bass. So if I get a regular just bass DI from a band or something, and I'll do this. I'll duplicate the track. One of them will be just the low end at about 120 or below. The other one's at about 170 and above. So instead of having the same sample and duplicating it, you can see I have a dub bass. These are just different sounds. So let me show you this. right? So if we look at this one first, we'll look at the low end. So, right, rolling off 24 dB per octave always seems to work fine. I'm at 113. That'll change a little bit every song. And then MV2 just to hold it in place so it doesn't move anywhere. So I'm compressing the low end and the top end independently, because in the bass it ranges so much. So I really need each of them just to stay put. So there's that. Here's our bass high. This was really the main one that was giving me trouble, and I went through all these different sounds, different spatial things. This sample was already in stereo, so I just kind of leaned into that. So we'll go one by one here. 119, taking out a little bit of that crunch in the mid-range. Decapitator, darkening it like a mother. High cut way down, mix at about 80%, putting saturation in. So again, adding harmonics, taking away top end. The Magic Stereo Maker, I'll A-B that in a second, followed by MV2 just to give it that control. So let me show you this guy. This is really where it's at. So I knew I just needed a little bit of stereo width to this, because just up the middle it just felt a little too weird. So the bass low, the subharmonic information, that is up the middle. Bass high, everything at like 200 and above, this is what's giving you a little bit of width. This is an old trick. I remember hearing like Dave Pensato talk about this a lot. Again, Jason Joshua will do this. Honestly, you probably don't even need this guy in this instance, because this particular track is already stereo, but it's on there. Maybe it was already on there from the last sample that wasn't already stereo, and I just left it. I don't know. Bringing up a little bit of the lows, but really taming the highs, because the pick is so strong in this, and I just didn't need to be a big rock thing, you know, like a big distorted rock bass with a pick. This goes to my bass aux. Ooh, okay. Curves from Waves, a new one. Still learning this guy. I like it. I don't love it, but it can come in handy. So let's see what this is doing. Alright, yeah, just taking out some of that crunchy high end, that pick, and adding that mid-range boost, which I would have done anyways. I don't know why I reached for that. I think I started second guessing myself, and I just needed to do something, grab it for, you know, reach for a smart tool. That is, what is this going? Bus 17. We'll look into that in a minute. This is going to my bass sum. This is always on there. Love a little extra distortion. You can see I have a resonant filter at 3K. So I want a little bit of that punch, but I don't want all of that big crazy pick noise up there. Boosting 700, I'm always doing that. Almost always on bass, almost always. Taking out about 300 in the low mids. That is to make the piano breathe. I remember that. That was a battle, getting the bass and the piano to work together. So I'll talk about that in a minute. De-esser, love this thing. This is why this plugin is on the bass. I have an external sidechain going to the kick drum, coming from the kick drum. And you can see I have a low shelf dipping at 67 hertz every time that kick drum plays. This does two things. It's clarity in the low end, meaning I'm letting the kick drum win the low end battle under 67 hertz. So I'm dipping the bass out of the way of the kick drum. But this also is what kind of gives me that bounce that I'm looking for. So I got the bounce working in the drums. Now I just need the bass not to step on the drum's toes. that's how I do that. Additionally, here's the exact same thing duplicated again, but focused more in the subs. Like this is at 29 hertz. Again, I just don't want anything to be in the way of that kick drum. So if I put the drums back in, 100% mix on that. Totally fine. I'm hitting maybe -9 at the highest. Totally fine. This is sub stuff. It's just not needed in this instance. Like I said, I don't need that low end credibility in this song. I just need it to bounce and feel right. After that, a little bit of cleanup at 170, taking off super highs, rolling off at 40 hertz. I don't need all that big sub in this bass. The kick is what's living down there. Moving on, guitar. This was another reason why I got all the way up to 31 on this mix. I tried a few different things, so these were ideas that were added way later when I was like already pretty well into the mixing process of this. So this is a committed sound. The original track is right here. It's STL Tone Hub as my amp simulator. Tremolator, I'm sure I synced it to the BPM 86. Brainworks delay. And then I'm also sidechaining it to the vocal. So this is what really was bogging down my CPU, were these guitar tracks. So I needed it to feel good, move, but stay out of the way of the vocal. So committed it. Sounds fine. I'm pretty sure I'm just strumming an octave, with the main melody kind of goes down. So just contrary motion, bringing it up. I always think that's a little interesting, especially in a little layer that's kind of in the background like this. Spank left and right. Let's see what these sound like. It just repeats. That's it. I just need something more staccato-y to, again, add to the bounce of this song. For the longest time, it wasn't bouncing, and I just decided, let me get like a little picky Corey Wong type of thing. That to me made it. So I know these are slightly different. I did 2 takes, and I treated them slightly differently. So this, we will look at what we're doing, and hopefully my computer behaves. So on the right, VEQ3. I don't know why I did this. This is similar to a Neve 1073, which I also have. I don't know why I did this. Rolling off 160, a little bit of boosted 220, and nothing else. A gate. Cool. Let's see how much this is doing. Alright, just giving it a little bit of control. Chorus, and I know this is where we're different, so I'm sure this is the same as this. It is. So on the left, I have a phaser. On the right, I have a chorus. Just treating them slightly differently so they could just be different sounds. I just wanted them to interact. So these are modulating at different tempos, different rates. So that means they'll never line up, and that's what's just giving it a little, like a watery, swirly texture. Moving on, harmonics. These are probably the same. They are. There it is again, pushing it in the back. This is a middle ground layer. This is not the foreground. All those vocals are in the foreground, piano, bass drums. This is tucked back just to add some groove, bounce, all that. And then here's one more 1176 side chained from the vocal. So again, just pushing it out of the way. And I'm sending to a delay, number 1. 8th note delay again. So more bounce. That's all that this is. if I don't often time my delays to be perfectly in time with the rest of the song and on the groove, but that was the only point of this. This is to make it dance, make me dance, and we're happy. A little bit of side chain on that delay from the vocal. I always do that on my effects. So there you go. Let me play the mix with and without these guitars, and you'll see just what a difference it does.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come.
Right? Now we got some movement in the middle ground between the vocals, the drums, and the bass. It's just something else back there that's just dancing, making things more exciting. So moving on to the key. Well, let me talk about this little guy first. Blips. Whatever. What is a blip? That is a blip, for sure. Harmonics help make this thing cut through without adding a bunch of top end. Man, this thing is all over the mix. This really saved me. And then taking out some nasty mid-range, because this is really pokey, right at like 1K, which is just annoying, and I need the vocals to sit there. Again, taking out top end, but adding saturation. Obviously, he pushes it way back into the mix, big volume jump. But that delay, I remember, was already in the sample, whatever patch that was on, Native Instruments machine. I remember hitting it, blip, up, up, and then just copy and paste, repeated it throughout, muted it, and going into the second verse. In the bridge, it comes out. This is the main instrument in this track, and this was a struggle to get to sit right. In hindsight, I probably should have went back and just picked a different patch. I didn't do that. I just left it. Let's see what we got. Okay, cool. It's one of those things that sounds really good on its own, but I really had to force this thing into submission and get it to fit into the mix. So you can see an inflator, adding harmonics and whatever other voodoo this thing's doing. But interesting thing here is the curve. You could hear how meaty this patch is. If I go up, it'll add girth, low end, low mids. If I pull it down this way, it'll brighten it slightly. So if I just get it, it doesn't matter. This was really the key to making this thing work with the bass, the guitars, everything else. So let me do this. I'll play the bass. Let me do this actually. Let me play the whole mix, and I'm gonna pop this EQ module in and out, and you'll just hear this was so necessary to kind of carve it, fit it into its own space. Because if you remember with the bass, we're rolling off at 110 and then high passing at about 190, I think it was. So that means there's a gap at 150, and that's where I'm pushing the low end of this keyboard in. And you can see I'm pulling out at almost 700, which is where I'm boosting on the bass. So fitting it in, they have complementary gaps, right? So they have to work with each other. And then I'm boosting more at 3K almost 4K, because if you remember again on the bass, I'm rolling off at 3K. There's nothing up there that I wanted. It was all just aggressive pick. So this is what makes it sit.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
That's what gives it a home right there. So that's a really big piece of this puzzle. Vitamin, it's similar to Inflator.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe.
It just adds a little bit of sustain, harmonics, just kind of beefs it up a little bit. Taking out 700. So again, getting it out of the way of the intelligibility of the bass. Because the bass is adding bounce. That's the most important thing. This is just footballs. There's no rhythm to this. So that's why I had to make those guitar tracks to give a little something with harmonic rhythm. Both blips and pads are going to key some, which is just doing a little low end cleanup.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you...
Yeah, a little bit of resonance at 100. Buenos, this is going to, which is my spatial widener. I've talked about this before. This is a trick from Chad Blake in his Buenos Noches patch on his H3000, I believe. Flanger into Mondo Mod. So those never line up. Those are always just kind of swirling. And then pushing it out even wider with micro shift. So this really puts it outside of the speaker. So let me do this. Hopefully this can be illustrated here. Right. That's what just kind of wraps it around the stereo image. Makes it a little more exciting. This is the only thing that happens all the way through with no chains other than vocals. So this is a main element. It can occupy a little bit more space. That's why the guitars are I think of them more in the middle ground. They're not background, but middle ground behind these pads, just helping support it. So let's dive into vocals. These are all inactive. These are just in my template. Don't need them. My main vocal, this guy.
Don't think that we're now.
Sorry, let me get rid of that.
Don't think that we're now.
I am not a singer. Yes, there's a lot of tuning on this. I'm fine with it. It makes it sound good. Because I don't care. I never claimed to be a singer. So, recorded just right here like this on this SM7. What am I doing on this track?
Don't think that we're now.
Just needed a little bit of control. I do most of my work on my lead vocal bus, which we'll get to in a second. On the track itself, I just need a little more control.
Don't think that we're now.
Really love the LA3A. That I think gets slept on, but it's so good. So let's look at effects while we're here. There's a verse verb, a slap, an eighth note, and an echo. So verse verb, you can see I'm automating, coming down in the choruses, up in the verse. Okay, that makes sense. Verse verb is right here. This is almost the same on all of these effects auxes. Taking off the super highs, super lows. Like I don't want a S to come in and just send into that reverb. So that's what that is. Verse verb is then an eighth note and a quarter note. Medium feedback mix at about 60%. Echoplex is a really good unit. This really cuts through the mix. If you're setting to a delay using Echo Boy and you're on like the the default, which I think is studio tape, try Echoplex, and that'll help cut through the mix. So I really needed this to cut through as it sends into my actual reverb, which is just a warm vocal plate. Decent pre-delay again with the filtering, a little bit of modulation. If a reverb has modulation on it, I almost always have it on. I just need it to move and just be a little bit more interesting. Once again, similar kind of thing, a little bit of cleanup. And then, again, just like this EQ at the front of all these signal chains on my vocal effects, the last thing is going to be a sidechain compressor, just dipping it out of the way. It's great cleanup. It's necessary, especially when you have a bunch of effects going on. So,
don't think that we're we now. You walk over me, you want company, you won't come for free. Don't act like you don't know now. Give me your key, I pack up and leave, I won't count to 3. Don't think that we're we now.
love this. 8th note and 250. Again, I've said it before, but 250 is a magic number. There's Echoplex again. But before this on this 8th note aux, before the delay, I'm just distorting it, making it a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more noticeable. Again, followed by sidechain and similar kind of filtering in the front. You saw I went to that lead vocal slap effect, 117. That sounded fine. No need to change it. Minimum feedback. And that's it for that one. So I doubled this in the verse. And I just wanted it to be another little layer. It's not necessarily all that heard.
Don't think that we're we now. You walk over me, you want company, you won't come for free.
Again, same thing I've been talking about this whole time. I don't want this to be a big, bright, crispy thing. Dial back, make it a little darker, and adding a little bit of harmonics so you can still hear it. And again, just a little bit of that notorious 500 hertz. Clean it up. I don't need anything down super low. This is just to add a little bit to it, make it a little bit more thicker, a little bit more interesting. Doubling vocals is always such a great trick. Everybody's done it all the way back to John Lennon and probably even before that. Like, that could be the element that's missing in your production, is just a doubled vocal. And then oftentimes, triple, quadruple, different layers, different harmonies, whatever. But doubling just your main line in unison can really do a lot to help your production come together.
Don't think that we're we now. You walk over me, you want company, you won't come for free.
So that has no effects. That's just a texture underneath my lead. This one, however, does have effects, and similar with the guitars, this was really bogging down my CPU, so I got a lot of stuff happening. Let's look at it. But I just committed it, and that's all. And you can see I'm just doing on these lines.
You walk over me, you want company, you won't come.
Right? Pretty cool. So I re-recorded that audio, that just, those lines. Form it down, a little bit of distortion, but on the robot setting. That was cool. I don't think I performed it like that, like singing one note, but I was just playing with it, and I was like, oh, that grabs a good note. I put it in, whatever. Don't think about it too much. Holy hell. Okay, that looked worse than it was. I do not remember doing this. Holy hell. Okay. I don't know why I didn't grab soothe, but instead I did this. So whatever, just grabbing those resonant frequencies after adding that distortion, just making it sound weird. It needed a little bit of control. Torque? What the hell was I doing? Okay, so that's pitching it up in a weird way. All right. Okay. We're fine. This is fine. Micro shift. Send it out wide. Sure. Okay. All right. That's normal. Here's something similar again. Taking off the super highs. I don't want like those S's to poke out. I'm pretty sure is what I was thinking. Roll off at 110. Let's see. Okay, so just dynamic EQ there. Again, this was just getting too out of control, so these last two are just really controlling the frequencies and then controlling the volume. You can see my high levels, I'm just pulling it way down. I just want it to squash and just sit there. So let me know if you can hear this in the song itself, because it's pretty subtle, and really this is less about this vocal track itself, but more about these effects. So I'm sending into that verse verb just to help spray it and just make those lines a little bit more dynamic. And I'm going into a quarter note.
You walk over me, you want company, you won't come for free.
Cool. That quarter note, let's look at that. Same filter on the front end. Okay, getting weird again. Delay eternity. This is not something I reach for a lot. What are we doing? Eighth note and a quarter note. So I got both. Feedbacks are up pretty high. Low pass at 5K with a little bit of a resonance. I don't know. This is a weird plug. It's kind of hard to read, but I don't know why I did that. Sometimes you just want something different, you know. Again, controlling the mid-range. Let me guess, harmonics. Yep. On the A setting, was that amp apex? I don't know what that one was. 60% or so. And then good old side chain. Slower release, because I didn't want this one to be so noticeable. Okay. Weird stuff. Weird stuff. Okay, Marcus. Again, that's a lot of crap going on, so just commit it. But I kept it there just so I can reference that again and show you guys. Weird. So you can see my main vocal part shifts when I get to the chorus. I re-recorded for the longest time. Again, this is also part of the reason why I got up to V31 on this. For the longest time, this was my main vocal.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
What I ended up doing after that was recording a harmony.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
And then maybe after 3 more back and forths, I ended up realizing, oh, this song is too boring if I leave that vocal line in that lower register to be my main number one vocal. So that's why you shift up. It gives it a little more energy. I needed that chorus to step up. That was a big struggle that I had for the longest time, was getting the chorus to feel like it just steps up. In energy, in dynamics, sound, feel, emotion, all of it. So that's where I ended up flipping the roles of these two vocals and being, okay, this isn't just a background harmony layer. This is now my lead vocal, and then my lower register can just be supportive of that.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
So on that harmony, this changed a lot. I could see, what is this one? Just a different 1176. So I'm not sure how I ended up on this. I think I wanted to utilize this EQ Yeah, boosting it, driving the tube part of this to thicken it up, make it a little bit warmer. Good boost at 10K, taking out 200. Because 200, that was just too conflicting with the bass and the keyboard down there. This, I remember, took a long time. I went back and forth on the release time of this compressor. So check this out. We're just going to listen to this lead vocal. I'm going to tweak the release knob, and you'll just listen to where the vocal comes in terms of front to back. It'll set back in the mix versus it'll come forward. Watch and let me know what you think.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
So this was big. I remember a couple of versions, like I would just go in and be like, that vocal's just sitting a little too far forward. So then I'd pull the release down to about here, and then I go, no, it's just kind of, it sits too far back, and now it's not as separate from my lower register stuff. So then I ended up just leaving it right there. Any farther back, and you can see I was getting into like -10, which was just a little too much for this. I recorded it with a compressor already. So if I just leave it fast, then it's sitting between 3 and 6 dBs of reduction, and that's just where it felt better. So on this lead vocal that's happening in the choruses, you can see I'm setting to that slap. I'm setting to the 8th note as well, and then I have Vox Effects, which is a new one for us. So let's look at that. Valhalla. And then, yeah, that's just a side chain at the end like everything else. So what do you sound like?
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Whoa, can't you see?
Cool. It's fun. It's spatial. This is mostly for just having something different happen. Switch out the vocals. The vocals themselves are changing, so their effects should too. It just helps define a scene change for me. That's a really big thing I do. One last little vocal thing. This is in the bridge. Let me play the bridge, and then we'll talk about this, because this is a whole thing.
If it's goodbye now, please be good. Whoa, can't you see?
So let's talk about it. You can see my main lead vocal is here in the bridge. I just lowered the volume. It's more of an intimate thing. And then I duplicated this line here. Please be good. This is the exact same audio file. I just dragged it up to a new track and affected it separately because I wanted this. You can see it's almost 100% fully wet on this echo. Half note, triplet, quarter note. It's on the style of vibrato. I don't know why. Again, just to be different. Saturation is up. Chorus, interesting choice. But I'm only at 80% wet. That's just to give us some movement. Into a little plate. So delay, chorus, reverb. Up at about 70%, 4-second verb. So let's listen to this a little bit on its own. Cool. And you can see there's that volume swell. That was a big thing I wanted to do. Kind of flow out. The dynamics, it's a scene change. So that with the other vocal, because you can see I got this strong fade in. This is just like an effect track, right?
Right now, please be good.
Cool. Yeah, that was fun. It's just sometimes it's easier to work on its own track as opposed to doing tons of automation on sends and all that crap. Okay, so my lead vocal buses. First in line, Shep's Omni Channel. Love it. Saturation. This always changes every mix, but saturation up about 20. Rolling off everything below 80. Slight curve, just 12 dB per octave. Not using any EQ. No compressor, no de-esser, but I am using a little bit of gate. And that goes to Soothe. Let's see how much this is doing.
I can't believe I won't count to 3. Oh, can't you see?
Not much. A little bit of low mids and a little bit of that higher mid range, 4 or 5K. Gets a little gnarly. Fresh air. This thing's great. Sometimes I'm often at like 3 and 2. Sometimes I'm all the way up to like 12, but it's usually pretty subtle with this. This is a little more than I expected to see.
I can't believe I won't count to 3. Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
Yeah, that just pushes it up, right? It's good tone shaping, good harmonics involved. It just kind of pushes it up, adds a little bit of brightness and polish, and gives it that pro sound. Arvox.
Can't believe I won't count to 3. Oh, can't you?
Just kissing it. I love that thing. Sometimes I'm slamming. This instance, I'm a little bit lighter because, again, these two main vocal tracks here, I have compression right there on the track, so I don't need to rely on Arvox to do it for me. Lo-fi. 0.1 on the saturation. This thing's very subtle, which is great. Sometimes it's 0.2 and 0.2, 0.1, 0.1. Let's see if we can tell what this is actually doing.
Oh, can't you see?
Here, let's really get specific.
Oh, can't you see? Oh, can't you see?
All right, a little bit of hair, a little bit of grit, a little bit of saturation that just kind of cuts through. This, I really wish this thing had a mix knob on it. And I know you can do things like get that Blck plugin that, you know, you can nest other plugins in, and then you have a mix knob for it. But this thing's super powerful, super good. Been really liking it on vocals lately, which I tried it recently on another mix, and it worked. So I don't know, it might make it into my template. In some instances, I am sending to effects from this vocal bus instead of the individual channels. So I'm also sending to verse verb. So this is a bit of a redundancy, kind of, because I do have verse verb on this guy here. You can see I'm also pulling it out of the choruses, but that's just another instance for it. I don't know why I did that. I might have forgot that was there. Is it wrong? Technically, maybe. Who cares? Sounds good. Chorus verb. I'm sure this will be the inverse looking thing. Exactly. Chorus verb. So we haven't talked about that yet. Old Faithful. There's some filtering. Okay, a plate. Rolling off at 180. Pre-delay. Oh, I don't know. What is that? Maybe 120. About a 3-second thing. Good enough for me. And distortion. I'm really enjoying putting saturation either in front of a time-based effect or after. Depends if you want to affect the signal going in or the repeats. Different instances for both. I really love doing that, though. It just gives it a different characteristic because everybody's got the same plugins. So try to make things sound a little bit more original. That's a good way to do that. We're starting to do a quarter note. I think this is just in the bridge. Nope. The very outro. Oh, okay. So I wanted this to be a little bit of our call and response. So you'll hear this.
Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. What you're looking for. What you're looking for. What you're looking for. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool moment there. I did not record the ending like that. I just ended up chopping up the vocals and adding a whole nother section. Again, this was worth at least a couple of mix revisions. But yeah, that ended up being a pretty cool outro, very fun. The song was like 30 seconds shorter than it is already. But that's just too damn short, so I gave it a little bit of an outro. Anyways, that's fun. Woolly. I've talked about this in the past. This is another really cool thing. I'll exaggerate it so you can really hear it.
Hope that you find what you
Go here.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
Right? Just adds a little bit of shaking on the bottom, right? A little bit of fun, a little bit of width. It just kind of adds that woolly feeling, like it's down low. This EQ, again, just it's all mid-range. This really focuses in on the low end and just, I don't know, it's a little bit of spatial widening thing. It just kind of puts it into a space, sets it back a little bit. This kind of, to me, this is glue that just helps marry the vocals with the rest of the track. And that's it for that. So I do have one parallel lead vocal going on here. This, again, was another thing that was giving me a big issue. Because I have this other thing that I usually do with, well, you don't get to see it because we're not doing it. If you want to see it, you can watch another video. I know I'm using it there. This was the only thing that ended up helping. So I didn't need that much compression. You know I'm not doing that much on the tracks themselves or their main lead vocal bus. This was a way that I could just like drive a tube a little bit and add a little bit more.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
That's more glue. It's less about a squash and just more about glue and pulling it back on the verse, pushing it up in the chorus. That's fine with me. Spreader, self-explanatory. Just dialing it into taste. I'm usually around -15. I might go to 12. I might be even less than that. Especially in an intimate part, I might pull that way back. Air. This is fun. This is a good trick. I have a gate going in just to cut out some of that dead space. Distort the crap out of it. Pummel this thing. Again, distortion is just extreme compression. So that's what we're doing. We're really just squashing this. So there's no dynamics, so it's consistent. And then all I want is everything over 16K. So this is my sizzle. This is how I get it. Instead of just going onto the track itself and just boosting a bunch of top end, that to me doesn't sound good. But being able to isolate the frequency that I want to hear and then blending it into taste, that to me is how I can get my sound. Isolate the frequency, compress the crap out of it, and blend it into taste. So you can see I'm at -15 there. So let's do a quick with and without, just on like this lead part.
Don't think that we're we now. Don't think that we're we now. Don't think that we're we now.
It's subtle, but it just opens it up. So all of these lead vocal auxes go to the lead vocal sum. We have inflator doing a little bit of magic. Sibilance.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want.
Just doing a little bit of safety at the end.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you.
Upper mid range, and I remember those low mids being an issue, getting cloudy. And then pulling on a little bit of honk at 800. 800 is always really tough on the vocal. I at least on my vocals, I've always struggled with that. 1K sounds good, but 800, no good. That's it For that, you can see automating some effects. We'll come back to the moments. We'll keep rolling through tracks. Background vocals. I thought my lower register was going to be the main part, so I doubled it and tripled it just to have a left-right.
Whoa, can't you see?
But you can see minus 20. So I ended up pulling those down, and then I did a double, so this is just a stereo take of the register just slightly above it. That is actually my main chorus vocal. So here's a double and a triple of that.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't.
Let's see what this one's doing.
Whoa, can't you see?
Octave up. That's cool.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be.
There's the same octave performance, but this one's spread out left and right. So it's like I got a clean one up the middle, then I got another one just kind of shimmering on the outsides. And then I have these harmonies. These are really my favorite layer. I can't tell you what interval it is, but I was singing something and it just kind of fell into place.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, baby, hold the.
A lot of tuning to help keep me in line there. Pedal tone. This was a fun one. Trying to find the right balance really took a minute. Because I wanted it to be subtle. Like if I took it away, you would notice it. But I didn't want it to be so obvious that that's all you're really hearing.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, baby, hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Right? It doesn't sound good, but it's in there, so all together.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, baby, hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Whoa.
I think it sounds good. It's pretty cool. So let's run back through and see what we're doing here. So my double and triple of my main lead vocal, which again is the slightly higher up one. Saturation, a little bit of filtering, taking off super high, super lows. Yeah, rolling off at 14K with a pretty serious resonant filter, but whatever.
Whoa, can't you see?
Slamming it to keep it in place. That is a stereo file with a different left and right, so I have it the compressor in duo mode, so they react differently to keep them both in line together. And then taking out mud. I'm usually not going to be adding much EQ. I'm mostly going to be taking away with something like that. Octave up.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't.
Compression, keep it in place. Taking out mud. Taking out that 700 ugly mid-range. A little bit of sizzle on top at 6.8. And then a little bit more at 5K. So those upper mids just to help brighten it up. But I'm also rolling off at 12K. So that's something to note of too, because it was like everything else was just getting a little bit too bright, and I just didn't want things to be bright and crispy. This is not that type of song, right? So more round was just the way it went. The other octave up, which is just like ear candy on the sides, micro shift. That's probably my favorite widener, and then taking off again super like around 12K. Just doing it a different way. For my favorite harmonies, these are probably the same. Oops, slightly different.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, baby, hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Again, I don't care that it doesn't sound that good. Whether it was the tuning, doing a lot of work, or time alignment, whatever the hell happened. Doesn't matter. You can't be too precious about it. Taking out lows, adding a little bit of body at 600 where we're taking away the others. So that's kind of just carving room. And then this is filling in the gap in the mid-range. Slight boost at 800, again, where we took away from the others. We're adding on this one. And a little bit of sizzle right at the top. while also taking out at 16K the super top. A little bit of control on the compressor. This one's slightly different. I don't know why, but I think this one just needed to be balanced, or just needed a little more top end to feel balanced. Whatever. Pedal tone. I think this was, it was committed at some point. This also might have been Little Altar Boy robot. Just keep it in one place, and maybe I thought that was fine and just kind of went with it. I can't remember if I actually recorded that tone or not.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, baby, hold the door. Hope that you find.
Yeah, I'm okay that it shakes. It's not perfect. Again, it's just, I don't know. How does it sound together?
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
I got no complaints with that. That sounds great. Don't be too precious. Don't go in there and be so finite and nitpicky. If it doesn't serve the record, don't do it. You know, this sounds great as is. Why would I try to make it even better? Perfection is a myth. These go to my background vocal bus. No saturation, a little bit of filtering. Super top, super lows. 12K though, that's not that low. A little bit of resonant boost. So I'm taking out some honk at 2.5. Oh, that damn 2.5. Some more at 600 just about, and just a slight boost at the very tippy top. De-esser is always great. I'm using both of these, so I'm taking out a little bit of mud. You can see this bell mud at 200, and then de-essing a little top at
Oh, can't you see? Can't be.
de-essing a lot of top at 3.4. Again, just keeping it out of the way of the lead vocal. A little bit of de-essing. This is I don't know if it's new, but it's new to me. I just wanted something a little more surgical than like the standard de-esser that I had, so I picked that up.
Oh, can't you see?
Almost the exact same thing as the lead vocals, right? I guess my voice just builds up around 4 or 5K, and then that low mids always could use a little bit of help. But again, it's always at 84%. This at 100, very, very seldom.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
So that's cool. That's kind of gluing it all together. So this is a different Fairchild than my parallel on my lead. Right, I got the 670 over here, 660 on the BGVs.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door.
Cool. Sounds good. I just for the sake of being different, it's still the tubey VCA style compression. Love it. But if I had two different ones, I mean that's great. I feel no need to make that the same 670 that was on the lead. I want it to be different. That looks cool. What's that doing?
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
Okay, so basically the same thing as this other one here, where it's just kind of focusing on low mids, high mids, and leaving the middle like 1K untouched because that's the intelligibility. So that's all this dip is. It looks crazy, but that's just so it doesn't really pull down anything in 1K.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
Again, 80%. And here, there's that damn 800. I don't know what it is about that one on me. Just 800, it's fucking my shit up. So, sorry. I just need a little bit of help. Okay, effects. I remember this was a big thing. I went a lot of different ways. I was going here, there, and everywhere with it, trying things. Eventually, I just decided less is more, because all these different layers, they're all kind of going to different effects. You know, the pedal tone might get a delay. This harmony pair might go to a different reverb. This might be a different delay. All this stuff. Eventually, what I did. Let's see, a little bit of that chorus verb on a couple of these. This one's also going to Vox Effects, which was that Valhalla. So sharing, sometimes I go, it just totally depends on the mix. So some tracks I'll send the lead vocal effects, the lead vocals get their own effects, and then the BGVs go to different effects. This one, I just wanted it to melt together a little bit better, because really that chorus is more like a choir. It's less about like my main lead vocal and a bunch of other voices. Like this is really more of a group effort, right?
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me.
Like I know my lead is just a little bit out in front, but it's me, and then there's a choir right behind me. So with that image in mind, keeping things together, that's why they're kind of going to the same stuff. Like I have this bridge verb here that actually, there you go, contradicting myself. So that bridge verb is only getting that pedal tone, because I wanted that pedal tone to stick out, but not too much. So I remember sending this to its own reverb, which we have not looked at. Yeah, it's just a room, 2.6, normal stuff. 136 on the pre-delay, that's pretty severe, so I wanted to add space to it without making it cloudy and still losing the intelligibility of it. Like I wanted it to be intelligible. And then this is going to a quarter note, which I'm automating just certain words. That's interesting. What are we doing?
Hope that you find what you're looking for. Whoa, can't you see?
What You're Looking For, the name of the song. Call and response, fill in that gap a little bit. And then it comes up here at the end, just like it did with the lead vocal for that call and response back here, right?
What you're looking for. What you're looking for. What you're looking for. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Right, making that a moment. Cool. This is interesting. The affects. This is something that lives in my template. Sometimes vocals need a little extra juice to kind of help cut through. So let me play the mix, and I'll turn this on and off, and then we'll talk about it.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Whoa, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Right, you hear it kind of just like disappear. I mean, this is just one little thing we're doing in parallel, but really it's doing so much more than that. I got minus 15 on this, which is subtle, right? But it makes a big difference. And it's just this, again, parallel distortion, like with the drums, that just really, a little thing that does a lot. Excuse me. Mix V1, I mean, this could change song to song. I liked it there, left it. I usually don't touch this. Sometimes you need to. But that's it. So that little thing right there really makes a big difference. What else with vocal effects? You can see the importance of kind of making a moment like this in a song where the verses are very small. Verses are down. Choruses are up. Leaning into that. So with that in the arrangement, that tells me as a mixer then, do what I can to enhance that, make that more of a moment. So you see as we go into this first chorus, which, we haven't heard it yet. We've been small up until this point, and now things are going to get big. So an easy way to make that feel bigger is to remove right before it.
I can't believe I won't count to 3. Whoa, can't you see?
So instead of having all of these vocal tails, these reverbs, delays, instead of having that drag over into that space, it's just letting that space shrink before it explodes out. So I do this again up here, this delay that is coming from, where is that coming from? Is it just these guitars? Which doesn't even do anything because guitars don't play until the chorus. Anything else being modified like that? Boom, boom. No. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a moment. But you can see here, like these blips.
I can't believe I won't count to 3.
So let me, this is that same idea, right? Watch with and without this fade. It's cool. It can go either way, but a little detail like that just really helps make things.
I can't believe I won't count to 3. Oh, can't you see?
Yeah, I like that better. So I did it. It's my song. I can do whatever I want. Okay, let's talk about this bridge, because this is a fun section here. So all the drums go out. Is that right?
Thanks for the win and go find your peace. If it's goodbye now, please be good.
So here's that. This is just on the auxiliary percussion, because without this, the cowbell was just too much. But I still wanted to have something in there that told us where the tempo was, where the beat is. I didn't want to just totally evaporate yet.
Thanks for the win and go find your peace. If it's goodbye now, please.
Right? Pretty cool. We'll come back to this in a second. That's the magic. Blips come out. Nothing else is happening. It's just vocal and this piano. And this piano, Buenos, which is the thing that's pushing it out wide and outside of the speaker, I'm pulling that way down so that way it comes in more, because this is the most intimate moment in the song. It's just me and a piano just singing to the person. So that had to come in. Additionally, I'm automating Pro Q3. This had to come in. So let's watch what happens as opposed to me telling you.
I know we agree. Thanks for the win and go find your peace. If it's goodbye now, please be good. Whoa, can't you see?
Pretty cool. Again, because this is a weird downbeat into the chorus where the only thing that hits on 1 is that piano. So I don't want that to land. I want it to land on 2 when the snare comes, right? So here's that one more time.
Please be good. Whoa, can't you see?
So that was something that I played around with in those little extra tracks, these little sound effects. So now let's talk about it. I have a glass explosion sound is what I call it. I'll show you what that sounds like. Glass explosion. I have another crash cymbal. Yep, is what it is. So those are the only 2 things that look like they land on that downbeat. Now, just before that downbeat, I have, what is this? Interesting. I have that, and then I have this guy. So there's part of my swell right there.
Whoa, can't you see?
Cool. Yeah, it just sounds like it's coming around like a whip. And then this part really is the magic here. So this is just a normal reverse cymbal. Right? It's low, you feel it. But this is my favorite thing. I mean, I really use this guy a lot, this whoosh sound. There's so much low end in it. It sounds amazing. How cool is that? It's just so cinematic. Let me play this section with and without these few elements and just pay attention to the impact that is lost without them.
Please be good. Whoa, can't you see?
That sucks, right? Here it is. How cool is that? That's everything. Transitions are everything. Don't sleep on your transitions. Producers, songwriters. I mean, this is something I do in the mixing stage. But just always pay attention to your transitions, because that's really going from section to section is where the magic is. Like, if you're going into that chorus and nothing happens, and when you heard it, just it's so flat, so boring without it.
Whoa, can't you see? Can't be good. Whoa, can't you see? Can't be you want.
That's night and day. I can't say enough about that. And that is the only time it happens in the song. I was playing with some other stuff, didn't like it, got rid of it. I could just, boom, you're gone. So these things all live in my template, and I just drag them over if I need them. Different every single song. Sometimes I need very, very little. Sometimes I need a lot. So that's my favorite part of the song. Other than that, we got some volume automations, like you'll see here when the outro comes after that, like double chorus kind of thing. Guitars come up, vocals can sit back a little bit.
Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. What you're looking for. Looking for. What you're looking for. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
So if you see my clip gain here, you can see it's going down, right? Even though the volume's coming up. 0, 1.8, 2.8. I think I had rendered automation probably on this track with all those effects on it. And I got too carried away. So then I had to dial it back. So I still wanted it to grow. I just didn't want it to have such a giant step up. Because I think it was like a 6 dB jump from one point to another. But yeah, and then also what comes up right there is the sample here.
Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Again, that's something I committed, so you don't see any automation. What else? One other really important thing when I was making this, I was probably at like mix V25 when I thought of this, but I was like, the chorus just isn't hitting right. So you can see up here that I have it tempo mapped. So the real BPM of the song is 85. But what I ended up doing was making the choruses 1 BPM faster. And by doing that, that gave the choruses that extra little oomph that felt good. So it's really unnoticeable.
Give me your key, pack up and leave. I won't count to 3. Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me.
Yeah, because my vocals are kind of dragging. Like they sit slightly on the back end of the beat. Then you have things like the shakers and tambourine that are kind of pushing it, and the guitars, that subdivision stuff are kind of what's pushing it forward. But I'm dragging back, and it eventually felt like I just needed a little extra help. So the choruses are 1 BPM faster than the rest of the song, and that really helped solidify things. I played with 2 BPM, but that was way too much, which I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. But that 1 BPM was all it took. I know that's a trick a lot of producers will keep in their back pocket, but that's a good one. All right, I did not talk about this A, B, and C bus, so let me cover that. A bus, drums and bass.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me.
I kept finding less compression was better. So I'm barely tickling it, but I'm also down at 70%. My sweet spot. I love me a 70. So that's just a little bit extra glue, a little bit of bounce, drum and bass. B bus, vocal bus.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me.
Ooh, barely hitting. barely hitting. Yeah, this is more harmonics than anything. Nickel, so it's up at like that little bit of bump at like 150, which was good on my vocals for this song. 100 was a little too low with the bass, and remember there's kind of that space, bass low, bass high, those roll off points. There's a little bit more room at 150, so not that it makes that much of a difference, but it's there. I usually don't ever have to touch that. If I'm doing more than a dB, I gotta tweak something. C-bus is everything else, all the other instrumentation. So if there's horns, strings, whatever, it all goes here. So in this case, it's guitar, piano, that little blip thing. Tone shaper, tape emulator, 7.5. Again, warmer, darker, lower. Let's see what we're doing for EQ. This is a mid-side EQ. All of these modules are in mid-side. Because for me, that's the magic with this plugin, is putting it in mid-side. The limiter as well, which we'll get to in a second. I'm boosting the outsides a little bit. Small moves for everything. At 128. 256 gets a little bit of love on the outside, so the low mids are going out. And I'm pulling them out of the middle. So 256 is getting pulled out of the middle. We're not touching the low. Nothing there. Another slight bump at 1K on the outside, so just making it kind of wrap around. And then 4K, again, getting a little bit all on medium shelves. Just a little bit of touch at, 1 dB at 8K up the middle, as well as my little spreader plugin here, just doing a touch. So let's hear this with and without.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Oh, can't you see?
Yeah, it just kind of hugs it, make things a little bit bigger. I love a mid-side thing. This is not like carving. The only thing I needed to carve out of the middle was like the 256, kind of make room for that bass. But there wasn't a lot that I had to do here. Sometimes you got to get a little nitty-gritty and really carve things. Limiter. This is usually set and forget it. I don't want this doing that much, and I'm low at 60% of the mix anyways. But I will play around with the recoveries. But again, this is always mid-side at 20.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Oh, can't you see?
Yeah, that just brings things up to attention. Gets a little bit lost without it. And I almost never use this little filter here at the end. So that's pretty much set it, forget it. Again, here's one more little good trick, just almost like a safety net, just to help give me a little bit more space and a little bit more voltage, just so things can breathe a little bit easier. This is sidechained from the vocals, so this will dip EQ points when the vocals hit, just to help make room and keep things out of the way of the vocal. So
oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
So to my ear, what this does is it keeps the vocals in front, on top of the mix. So this is a great tool to kind of keep focus on what's most important, the vocal. Additionally, this rear bus, which I've talked about before.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door.
This is getting vocals, everything except drums and bass. And this is not about turning down volumes, compressing on things, keeping them in check. This is in parallel to the rest of the mix. So this is more about bringing things up in volume. When the loudest thing hits, it pushes down in volume, which in this case, the vocals are the loudest thing because they're in front of the mix. So when they hit, they're pushing down everything else other than the drums and bass. So that means when the vocal stops, and this is why we do this. It's not for the pushing down, it's for the coming back up. So when the vocals stop, the music comes back up. The keyboards, the pianos, those come back up. There's going to be a big gain difference in this, but you'll kind of see what I mean.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Hard to tell in that example, but it helps a lot, and it really just kind of keeps things in their place. 2-to-1, fast. I never want to do more than like 3 dB of this, but that's a great little trick. Two-bus. Let's talk about it. Everybody's favorite stuff. This is a preset I landed on. This really works well for me on my two-bus. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I don't. In this case, let's see what it's doing.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're.
This is another case of helping to bring things up out of the mix and just kind of stand things at attention, because without this it just kind of falls flat. I know there's a little bit of a volume difference, but again, this is at my sweet spot, almost 70. This is glue. I know it's so cliche for a 2-bus compressor, but that's just glue. Always on my 2-bus. I love this thing. Oftentimes I'll have this up here, just a little bit of harmonics. But again, I was really battling this one being too crispy. So I left it down, and all I have is just a little bit of boost at presence. I'm not touching anything else. I have this resonant filter at 315, which I love. Let's listen to this. I'll turn this on and off, and you'll hear the mix just kind of fall apart, lose its clarity in the low mids.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Huge. I always start mixing with that on. So that's the first time I heard that off this whole time with this song. But that's a big part of it. Mono maker, everything under 121 hertz is mono. That's exactly what I want. Which is, it already is, but that's just like another safety net. Cause like I'm stereoizing the bass, but that's only happening over 200 hertz, 170, wherever that EQ is set. A little bit of stereo enhancing as well. So I got a lot of these stereo enhancing things happening in series. Like if you remember back here on my instrument bus, my C bus, that's doing stereo widening. I have a bunch of stuff on the individual plugs themselves, but still when I come here, I have this at 20%. In this case, again, this could be different every time. Often this is between 10 and 20. But I like things doing a little bit. I don't want any plugin to be doing too much heavy lifting. Like I'm not relying on that. I think this stuff sounds better when I have them doing a little bit each. I don't want one compressor taking off 20 dB. I'd rather have 5 compressors taking off 4 dB each. Curves, AQ. This is always a good little thing right at the end. Let me guess. 66. Okay, basically 70. Let's see with and without what this is doing.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Yeah. This is something I throw on after I kind of get going with the mix. Once I have like overall tonality and vibes in check, then I'll throw this on and I'll just kind of click it into place a little bit. So this has been quite useful right at the very end. I never really need it for surgery. This is just a good, it's like I treat this as like a mastering EQ. It just kind of clicks it and just goes, whoo, and then there you go. Pultec, not touching the low end, just adding a little bit of air on top, 12K, and that is it. Easy, less is more. Let me guess. Oh, 64, okay.
Oh, can't you see?
Yeah, a little bit of excitement with that. Against upward movement. Has like a Pultec kind of smiley face a little bit thing that it does to it. So it's adding a little bit of sizzle, a little bit of sauce. So I'm noticing that I'm adding more top end on my mix bus that I start with from when I start my mix, right? I'm adding my top end at that point and not as much individually. I think when it comes to low end, that deserves more particular attention. But instead of adding 12K, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there to all these different things, if I just do it there, things kind of already fall into place. So that's interesting. And this is one of those things that just adds a little bit of that top end, a little bit of that sizzle, as well as the upward movement. So that's it for my mix bus. These last three are really part of my mastering, since this is all just my shit, so I just self-master. Let's see what we're doing. I have a limiter, a clipper, and then another limiter at the end, and EQ, but we'll see.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you...
Barely moving on that guy. I liked that gentle limiting preset, and then I just adjust these two here. Maybe the release. Well, yeah. Just tickling it. This is really where I'm getting a lot of my volume.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
So pushing my mix up even louder, 2 dB after this first limiter. So I'm adding 2 dB here, pushing even more, 2.2 dB into the clipper, clipping. I had to bring this down quite a bit. This is usually like -4.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me.
And you can see it's really not doing that much. It's really not doing that much. So those lead into my final limiter, which is here.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Additionally, in front of this, which is also on before I start my mix, is this equalizer. So let's see what this is doing.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find...
That just helps bring things in focus. Keeps things controlled, because without that, it just feels a little too wily. And this was doing...
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me.
no more than 2 dB. That's an important thing to note, because it's like I was just saying. This is doing no more than 2 dB.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
That's doing about 2 dB of actual reduction, but it's clipping, so you know it's slightly different than just like a limiter. And let's see where we ended up.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Oh, can't you?
So that's kind of my target. It changes every time. This is not for every song, but generally speaking, I'm aiming for like -8 integrated LUFS. I'm okay if I dip into -6 territory. That's often what I'll do. So let's see this big moment, what this does.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be you want me. Come on, man. What you're looking for? What you're looking for? What you're looking for? Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Cool. Again, just keeping things in control, not letting anything do too much. What was interesting and unique about this mix in particular, so I got a pretty fast character here. That's not too strange. I was so heavy when, for the longest time, when nothing was sitting right. It was because I had so much activity with the transients, and things were just too crispy and too punchy and dynamic and exciting. It just wasn't the right vibe. So I really had to pull this thing back and turn it from a banger into something a little more controlled. So that's where like turning off this transient emphasis was huge, as well as keeping these guys down here at 0. This is something I never do, but here we are. I'm doing it. I'll move these, and this is a really interesting thing where listen to the relation of where the vocal is in terms of the stereo field. So as I push these faders up, you'll hear the vocals kind of sit back into the mix and things kind of wrap around it, and things get a little too competing. So it was getting to be a little too out of control, versus at 0 where things stay in place.
Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for. Oh, can't you see? Can't be who you want me. Come on, babe, I'll hold the door. Hope that you find what you're looking for.
Huge difference. I mean, even going from like here to 10% to me feels out of control, versus 0. Things are held in place and they're tight and they're bouncy. So I normally start with this kind of defaulted between 10 and 20, but this was just I was fighting it too much. So thinking when I was in the mastering stage is when I kind of figured this out and like, oh, let me kind of put it in control, leave a little more. And I usually flip between these two IRCs. I don't know. It sounded good like here, so I just left it. I think this actually defaults in my template to number 2, but I didn't like it. So having all these tools in place in my template, but not being too precious to change things per song, because that's the job. If I make everything the same, I'm not doing my job. That's bullshit. Everything is on a per track basis. So I never go crazy with loading up tons of plugins in my template and just having things ready to go and just running it through the template. That's not mixing. That's bullshit. I've mixed my own stuff before, but this one, for whatever reason, just gave me the most trouble. The first song I released, it came into place so well, from writing, production, recording, mixing, mastering, all that. But this one, I mean, see, I'm on Mix V31. I just had the hardest time getting it to lock into place, and a lot of it was just uncovering a lot of those tiny moves, like automation, creating little moments, even going 1 BPM faster in the chorus. Like, that's what helped it take it across the finish line. This was a weird, challenging mix. I'm very glad this is done. So now I can work on other shit. But this was a headache. Yeah, don't be too precious. We went through that kind of quick. A lot of weird EQ choices. If you guys have any questions at all on anything I did here, please leave a comment below. I'll try to link the song when this hits YouTube. Thanks for watching this if you're still here. Appreciate it. Okay. I'll see you next time. Yeah. Goodbye.